Hi, my project is on pacemakers and defibrillators. So what are pacemakers and defibrillators? So a pacemaker is an electrical device that delivers electrical pulses to the heart to help it beat properly. A defibrillator, or an implantable cardioverter defibrillator, ICD, is a device that is implanted in the chest that delivers shocks to the heart to help control arrhythmias. And as I mentioned before, both of these devices are implanted into the patient's chest and it inserts into the heart. So why would someone need one of these? Someone would need a pacemaker or a defibrillator if they had a heart condition that affects the rhythm of their heart. So cardiac issues such as atrial and ventricular fibrillation, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, bradycardia, tachycardia, or just general arrhythmias might call for the use of a pacemaker or a defibrillator. Because these medical conditions impact the heart's ability to properly deliver blood and oxygen to the body. Through the use of the electrical currents and the shocks, these devices keep the heart functioning optimally. So an inside look of what an ICD and a pacemaker look like in the heart. So here is an ICD. It is implanted into the patient's chest, and the wires go through the vein into the heart, and the electrodes actually are in the heart chambers. And very similarly for a pacemaker, the electrodes go through the vein into the heart, and these are the electrodes where the electrical pulses are delivered through. So exercise is a really important aspect of rehabilitation. Obviously, initially following surgery, the heart will be severely deconditioned through inactivity of recovery. So getting back up to the baseline is super important for the patient's health. And then also surpassing that through training to help prevent diseases such as high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and obesity that stress the heart further. And then exercise can also be used to recover range of motion, especially in the upper body. A lot of people with ICDs or pacemakers try to almost limit the use of their upper body because they're afraid of either it hurting, pulling on the incision, or just messing with the device in general. So after about 12 weeks of getting the device, you're okay and the patient is okay to begin using exercise to regain that range of motion in the upper body. So for my case study, I chose a 50-year-old male named Alan, he expressed wanting to start a structured exercise program. He has hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which is thickening of the heart walls and the muscle of the heart, which impedes the signals delivered by the SA node and the AV node. So Alan has atrial and ventricular fibrillation, so he has an ICD, and he's had it for about 20 years, but he's in overall decent health. He does not smoke. He walks 4 to 6 miles a day with his dog at a low intensity. He has a BMI of 27, and he admits to not eating the healthiest. He's on disability due to liver failure, so he doesn't work, which means he's relatively sedentary outside of his daily walks. So the conversation I would have with him is, what kind of forms of physical activity do you like to do? Are there any you don't like? Just so I can kind of get an idea of what forms of exercise would encourage him to continue on with his prescription. And another question would be, would you be willing to work with a nutritional professional? As he mentioned, not eating the healthiest and having a higher BMI, as we can't prescribe or give him a nutrition plan, we can refer him out to someone who can give him a little bit of nutritional advice and help him have a healthier diet. Then I would just generally ask him, what are your health goals? Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to be able to walk faster? Do you want to chase your grandkids around? And then a really, really important question is, have you spoken to your cardiologist about exercise? What are your limitations? What are your precautions? All of that information is needed to create an exercise prescription that keeps the patient safe and follows those guidelines. So Alan's goals. His goals are to lose weight to go to a healthy BMI, which will also thus help his heart health. He'll gain muscle mass and strength to shift his body composition a little bit. And then he wants to gain more flexibility, like I mentioned before, and get that range of motion back in his upper body, as he hasn't been using it as much as he should. So exercise testing. For exercise testing, to measure his aerobic capacity, I used the Cooper 12-minute walk-run test, as he already showed he likes to walk. For strength, I used the hand grip dynamometer, and for flexibility, I used the Canadian trunk forward flexion test, the sit and reach test. So for the Cooper 12-minute walk test, I got a VO2 max of 16.65 because he was able to walk 1,250 meters, and using the equation, I was able to get that VO2 max. That puts him at a very poor level of cardiovascular fitness. Using the hand grip dynamometer, he was able to produce 77 kilograms of combined force with both hands, so adding the right and the left hand together, which placed him at a fair level of fitness for his age. And then for the sit and reach test, he was able to reach 26 centimeters, which places him in the good category for his age group. So exercise response. This is important. Individuals with pacemakers or ICDs generally have a normal exercise response. Their heart rate increases at a typical rate, though people with these devices tend to have a lower level of fitness just because they're almost afraid to exercise. They're afraid of getting their heart rate up, and they're afraid of getting an unnecessary shock from their ICD. So this is also a concern of the trainer. The trainer should obtain programmed pacemaker modes, heart rate limits, and ICD rhythm detection algorithms from the client and the client's cardiologist, and make sure the client's heart rate is kept 10 to 15 beats below this threshold to receive a shock. The ICD delivers a shock to prevent tachycardia or too high of a heart rate. So if you're exercising the person and their heart rate gets super duper high, they might get a shock even though their heart is functioning the way it should. So that is really, really important for the trainer to be aware of that and to be constantly monitoring the client's heart rate. Because they get one shock during their exercise, they're not going to want to continue to exercise. So exercise prescription. For his aerobic prescription, I have Alan performing at least 5 days a week of light to moderate intensity aerobic exercise, such as walking, hiking, or biking for 30 to 60 minutes. This will really, really work on strengthening the heart, getting his VO2 max up, and just encouraging overall heart health. And then resistance training to meet his goal of gaining strength and gaining muscle mass. He should incorporate 2 to 3 days of resistance training, alternating muscle groups for 8 to 10 exercises for each group, and performing 8 to 12 reps for 1 to 3 sets, around an RPE of 11 to 13 on the Borg scale. And then for flexibility, to recover the range of motion of his upper body, he wants to utilize static and dynamic stretches for all major joints, focusing specifically on the upper body and shoulders, 2 to 3 days a week for about 10 to 20 minutes, and holding each stretch for 15 seconds, repeating 3 times. So special considerations. As I mentioned before, individuals with ICDs or pacemakers generally have a normal exercise response, and their devices actually protect them from heart issues during exercise. So pacemakers are primarily for if your heart rate's too low, but for an ICD, if their heart rate does get too high, they have a protection mechanism against that. But always, 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 the patient should confer with their cardiologist before starting any exercise routine. And with their cardiologist's help, we can get the programmed pacemaker nodes, the heart rate limits, the ICD rhythm detection algorithms, which we can use to monitor the patient's health, monitor how they're doing during their exercise. And as I mentioned before, keeping their heart rate 10 to 15 beats below that threshold to receive a shock to prevent any discomfort to the patient. So in conclusion, Individuals with pacemakers and implantable cardioverter defibrillators can safely exercise and live an active lifestyle. They have these devices that are meant to keep their hearts functioning optimally, and exercise will just help that. It'll just make their heart stronger, make it work better, and hopefully decrease the occurrence of needing the ICD to go off to shock their heart. So as long as there's communication between the client and their cardiologist and the trainer, proper precautions can be put into place to establish an exercise routine to improve their health, improve their quality of life. And so these are the places to find more information. The Cleveland Clinic actually has really, really good information on pacemakers and defibrillators, why they're used, where they're used, and actually different types for more information for a trainer.